Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tuesday, February 20th, West Fargo City Commission meeting. Call the meeting to order. I'd ask that you please join me for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner George?
Here.
Commissioner Simmons?
Here.
Commissioner Jardis?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
The record show all commissioners are attending. Item D is to approve the order of the agenda. It has been presented and it is in your packets, commissioners.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the order of agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item E is the approval of the minutes of February 5th, 2024. They have been distributed. They are in your packet.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of February 5th, 2024. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item F is building permits. The building permits from planning and zoning has been distributed, and inspections. It is in your packet.
Make motion to approve?
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. I have a motion and a second to approve the building permits as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have items A through C. They are, consent agenda items are in your packet.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items A through C. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the regular agenda. At this point in time, we're in the public comment portion. Madam Secretary, have you had anyone register for public comment?
I do not. I can also turn on.
Thought it was on. Okay. Do we have anyone? We have no one signed up. Moving on to item 2 on the regular agenda. Review and approve the Northwest Tire Renaissance Zone application. We call on Casey Sanders Berglund, Director of Economic Development for this report. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, President Dardis, Commissioners. I have an application for a Renaissance Zone revitalization program, which is located right off of Main Avenue. You can see in the staff report that this business currently resides in West Fargo, and it has purchased the property just adjacent or south to it, and is looking to demo the existing building that is on this property and use a portion of that build up for this new property would be they would use the Renaissance Zone funds to complete that build out. So if you take a look at the application here, you can see that in order for this area to be eligible, first they need to be located in the Renaissance Zone pre-approved area. In addition, according to our city's approval plans, in that plan, this project must meet or exceed a specific percentage of the increased property value. And in this case, because they're demolishing the property and the new property value would exceed 100%, they would be eligible for 100% of 5 years of property tax abatement for this specific project. So they would max out at 5 years. Currently, the building value is at $606,000. Their bid estimate brings this property value to, future building value to be at $4 million. And currently, the property tax is coming back at $15,561 with an estimated future property tax at $58,000. So with that, the Renaissance Zone incentive would look at 5 years, again, maxing out as the plan that the city of West Fargo has. We can only do up to 5 years through the city plan and at the state level. But we would be looking at the improved value property tax, not the current, which is what is outlined on here. The total would come to $290,430 after 5 years. So in looking at this and something we discussed, I'm not sure, oh, there we go. I just would draw your attention to the fact that when we discuss these types of properties, we discussed the fact that, but for this incentive, would we move forward? And one of the things I would just say is that this overall business does have other properties that they own, and they have considered expanding in those areas. This would, however, be the more ideal location. And so I would just draw your attention to that fact that just down the road in Mapleton is one of those areas. So take that into consideration today. In addition, when we look at a conservative sales tax estimate, moving forward, they have a conservative estimate within the first 5 years of a potential of $260,000 to $416,000 in sales tax annually, understanding that that's not all something that the city would receive, but an overall perspective. So looking at without the incentive, the property value would remain at approximately that $15,500 per year, and in total, in the 8 years, looking at kind of a comparison, in 8 years, that would be $124,489 that the city would gain in property tax revenue. And just a comparison, in 8 years, should we move forward with this incentive and welcome a new business, not only would we gain the sales tax that comes along with a business coming in, we would have offered this incentive for 5 years, gaining no property tax during that time, but their value will have increased. The property's value will increase. We'll get if you can see in the staff report, the last, a picture is a twin location to another location that they have, but in the 3 years, those 3 years, year 6, 7, and 8, we would gain a total of $174,258 in property tax. So just to compare what a picture of 8 years looks like with or without the incentive. And then I'll just say one more time that that doesn't include the sales tax. So without the incentive is obviously without that sales tax as well. And I'd just also like to say that this business is already established. They'd also be bringing approximately 15 jobs, not to include the construction and temporary jobs during the build-out. And then I'd also just call out that the property value would increase by about 3.5 times. So before I turn it over to questions, I'll just also mention that I have a representative here from Northwest Tires if you have any specific questions that I can't answer about the business or business structure.
Thank you. Commissioners? Questions from the owner or Ms. Berglund? Commissioner George?
I just have a quick comment. With these types of incentives, I just really, really appreciate how you have this laid out. This answers all my questions. This is all the information I want to know, how the tax money we get with or without the incentive, how much it's going to be bringing in. Fantastic job on your presentation. So thank you. Just wanted to say that.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your comments. Well done. Yep. Any questions?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the Northwest Tire Renaissance Zone application as presented by Ms. Berglund this evening. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show as 5-0, please, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3 on our regular agenda is the purchase of a refurbished fire pumper. We're going to call on Chief Dan Fuller, West Fargo Fire Chief. Good evening, Chief. Welcome.
Good evening, Commission President, artists, members of the Commission. Before you have a request for, two-part request, purchase of a refurbished fire pumper with equipment and sale of a ladder truck. Just some background of how we've got into this situation. We've been expanding our staff at the fire headquarters building, and that has been the goal all along, to put additional staff on to handle multiple calls at once. Last year, we had 630 times. We had more than one call operating at one time. It's created a burden on both of our equipment and our staff. So we've added the staff. We have 6 new firefighters going through the fire academy starting in 2 weeks. They'll be out of the academy in May. They are going to begin cross-staffing the existing fire pumper and a EMS squad out of the fire headquarters building, bringing our total companies out of that building staffed to 2. When that truck is in service, that leaves no fire apparatus in the building in case we have another call or for training purposes or anything like that. So we did look into purchasing a new fire pumper last summer. And had the timelines been in our favor, we would have asked you at that point in time to purchase that fire pumper. However, we were still dealing with the effects of COVID in the fire industry. So the combined challenge of money flowing to municipalities from the federal government during the COVID Relief Act, also combined with the fact that almost all the major fire apparatus manufacturers shut down during COVID, created a backlog of orders and a huge gap of time when no trucks were rolling out of the assembly line. So we used to wait a year for a new fire truck. It is now 4 years. So last year, when we heard that news, we had to go into action to find a different plan to try to get a piece of fire apparatus in our station to meet our needs. So we reached out to our dealer and had them find a used fire apparatus that was capable of being completely refurbished. And that is what we have found. So we are going to take a used engine or fire pumper that is the same specs, same chassis, same manufacturer as our entire fleet currently. We're going to have them refurb it, new belts, hoses, brakes, repack the pump. There's a bunch of dials and valves we're going to replace, upgrade emergency lighting, replace some roll-up doors that were damaged, and repaint the entire truck. The total cost for that is $524,000. In the upfit for radios, a mobile data terminal, saws, loose equipment, hoses, nozzles is $84,354. So the total cost for a refurbished pumper and equipment is $608,354. We also have a 2013 ladder truck that we are going to sell. 2 years ago, we came before you and asked for the purchase of a new rear mount tower ladder. We still haven't received that apparatus. We might receive it by December. We're not sure just yet as to their timeline for the build. However, within that commission meeting, we did talk about selling this ladder truck that is it's over 10 years old. It's met the needs for our community for 10 years, but it still has some value to try to get out of that. So we agreed that we were going to sell it at that time, or the commission agreed. So the second part of this is to list that truck. we're going to list it at $540,000, but after a 5% commission to the listing agent, we're going to get $513,000 in net revenue. So the difference between the refurb pumper and equipment minus the sale of this ladder truck is $95,354, and I'd be requesting that out of the public safety sales tax. There are enough unencumbered funds in the current sales tax fund to cover this cost. In terms of timeline, we would list this ladder truck immediately to try to have it sold within the next 2 months. They'll start the refurb work on the used pumper, and within the next, hopefully 2 months, it should be a complete changeover between getting the one truck out the door to its new owners and receiving the used pumper with equipment. I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Olson?
Just for clarification, we've already have a buyer for our used ladder truck?
We have several interested parties,
Okay.
but we do not have a firm commitment from any of them just yet. It still needs to go through the process of being listed. Usually when you're purchasing something this expensive, the fire company or fire department who's going to buy this will come to West Fargo to view it and go over it in our station to make sure that it is what they want to purchase. So those trips are going to have to occur, but we do know that it's going to be a fairly quick sell.
Just a follow-up question.
Please.
Have we gone down and gone wherever this
Yep.
pumper truck is and done our own inspections on it?
That's a great question, Commissioner Olson. We sure have. We went through 2 months ago and looked at it. It's in Apple Valley, Minnesota right now. It's a used truck that came out of Missouri. So we did send our mechanic down and our deputy chief of professional standards, who handles all our fleet and facility. They went through it. There's a list of things that they noted that we have to adapt to our climate. Doesn't have a tank, or doesn't have a pump heater, so we have to put a pump heater in. We have to put a pump pan on it. There's a bunch of things that they found, and that list of actual refurbishment is quite extensive. So I think all our boxes are checked there.
Additional questions? How many years will this refurbished pumper serve our community?
We have it in our apparatus replacement schedule for the next 14 years.
Okay, very good. And the transfer of the ladder truck, will this truck go away before the other one gets here? And
No.
does that leave you vulnerable at all?
No, we are going to try to do it at the same time. So we do have some control over how fast this truck gets refurbed and when we actually release the other truck. So we're going to make sure we do not have, that there is an overlap. We actually want that other truck here for at least a week before we send the other one out.
Excellent. Any additional questions, commissioners? Anything
I'd
else?
make a motion to approve the two-part recommendation.
Commissioner Simmons moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded for the purchase of the refurbished fire pumper as presented this evening by the Fire Chief, Dan Fuller. Is there any further discussion?
Just point of clarification.
Please, Commissioner.
Also to sell the ladder truck, right?
Yes, sir.
And the sale of the ladder truck. Yes, sir. Okay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 4, again, we're going to call on Dan Fuller, Fire Chief for the City of West Fargo. This is a contract amendment for Kraus Anderson for construction management services. Chief?
Thank you. So this is the second supplemental agreement with Kraus Anderson on their contract to provide construction management advisory services to the city during the construction of the fire headquarters building. We're at this point because we did lose a total of 34 working days due to winter weather, not this winter, but the year prior. It would have been great if we had this winter to work with, but we didn't. And then 31 additional working days to the project because of change orders during the process. And the last bit of work that needs to be done is being held up by weather currently. So we have actually greatly reduced Kraus Anderson's billable hours by their actual on-site project superintendent is only coming once a week, one morning a week, and that's it. So we are reducing the overall cost of project management right now, but they do estimate that it could be up to $97,000 for additional fees between now and June 15th. That's the date that they gave, that they feel that all the landscaping should be done, and that will be the final day of the project. They do need to maintain project management until this last portion is completed. And again, they have reduced resources and presence on site to save costs. The use of a construction manager by North Dakota Century Code is required, even though this project's not fully complete yet. The reduction resources and time from Kraus Anderson is saving the city money. However, we are going to be over our contracted budget amount. So that is why we are here before the commission asking for this supplemental agreement. And I'm sure the question will be asked. Before I left the office, I pulled the numbers, and we are at $16,900,078.47 spent on the new fire station. Original budget was $18.5 million. This number does not include the street improvement project for this stoplights at 10th and 9th. But that, I don't have that actual number in front of me, but I'm sure it wasn't the difference of the $2.5 million we're sitting at right now. So we have seen significant project savings through this project, and but the $97,000 is just going to be an additional cost from Kraus Anderson. I'll stand for any questions.
Questions for the chief?
Mayor?
Commissioner Simmons, please.
Thank you. Chief, I have two questions. One was the streetlights project. Was that part of the 18.5 million then? I don't remember.
Yes, it was. We were going to have that come through this project as to avoid having to special assess or find any other funds for that project.
Okay.
So it didn't go back to.
Okay, that's right. That jogged my memory. Thank you. And the other portion here is we're still saving as of this point 2.4 million, correct?
That's what we're down right now. There's still additional pay applications that have to come through, but right now our estimated budget is still to be under 18.5 million.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the contract amendment with Kraus Anderson for construction management services to June 15th. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is a mutual aid agreement with Fargo Fire. Again, we call on Chief Fuller.
Thank you, Commission President Dardis. In front of you is a request to approve a mutual aid contract between the City of West Fargo and the City of Fargo Fire Department. Operationally, this process is seamless, the mutual aid, exchange of mutual aid between two organizations. It happens every day, but we still have to have a contract, legal basis to actually provide aid between the two communities. So this is an updated contract. We already have one in place, but this is an updated contract. It is not automatic aid. This is just mutual aid. This is when we call for help from Fargo, or they'll call for help from us, and we'll go across city lines. As such, the customary process is that if the mutual aid agreement does not go over one operational period, which we deem as 12 hours, it's a no cost between the two organizations. There is provisions in this contract, however, for billing, and that is because Fargo does hold the regional hazmat and regional tech rescue teams. So if we were to have an incident where we did call those teams through the state, out in Bismarck would have to call the state DES duty officer, they would call Fargo. Fargo would already know about it, but they would come over, and there is a reimbursement process, and there has to be billing to have that happen. So just making sure we have that covered, we left it in this contract. Again, that's just the exception of natural disasters and major emergencies. Most of this is just routine day-to-day stuff. Stand for any questions?
Any questions, Commissioners?
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the mutual aid agreement with Fargo Fire. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is a mutual aid agreement with Horace Fire. Again, we call on Chief Fuller.
Thank you. So in front of you is a request to approve a mutual aid and auto aid contract with the Horace Fire Protection District. This is a little different animal than the one we just talked about because this is the first for us to sign an agreement with the city, with the fire department that covers the city of Horace to provide them mutual aid and automatic aid. Currently, we do process mutual aid requests as they come in from the Horace Fire Department and vice versa, where we do call them automatically for areas of our city that do not have adequate hydrant systems. We do have 7 areas pre-designated in the city. Some of them are just one property. Some of them are entire subdivisions that have rural water. The rural water mains aren't large enough to support a really robust firefighting operation, so we have to make sure we have an alternative water supply or plan to get an alternative water supply. So we do have what we call a tanker task force. So this is 5 fire tankers or tenders, water tenders that come from West Fargo Rural, 2 from West Fargo Rural, 2 from the Horace Fire Department, and 1 from the city of Mapleton. And they're dispatched automatically. Anytime we have a building fire reported in any of those zones. 9 times out of 10, we turn them around because either we get there and put it out fairly quickly, or it was a false alarm and there isn't really a building fire going on. But it helps our ISO rating to make sure that we train, we have that plan in place, and we exercise it regularly. The city of Horace has a very similar challenge in they do not have a ladder truck yet in that fire department. So they have a gap in operations where if they were to have a building fire and anything over a story and a half, they would need a ladder truck to respond. So the agreement states that we will send a ladder truck to them automatically when they have a building fire reported anywhere in the city of Horace. And again, just to clarify that this is with the Horace Fire Protection District and not the city of Horace, because the city of Horace doesn't have their own fire department. It is very beneficial for both departments. We have operational gaps, they have operational gaps, and we're just covering each other. In addition to the regular mutual aid where we would call them if we got up to a certain number of alarms of a major incident here in the city. But this is a brand new agreement. We've never done this before with Horace. I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioners, questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the mutual aid agreement with the Horace Fire Department. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
I do have one question before,
Please.
Chief. Do we have a similar agreement with our rural fire department?
We do.
We do.
We do have an automatic aid agreement with the rural fire department. We do need to revisit it and have it redrawn.
Okay.
But as of right now, we cover a portion of I-94 from essentially where 15th Street should cut it off, that magic line in the road, all the way to exit 343, which is the main avenue. Any motor vehicle accidents will respond dual. They'll still dispatch rural, but will respond also. And then any building fires or anything that happens on the fairgrounds property will also respond, since we're so close. But we do need to draw up an agreement to make sure that we are covered legally for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 7 is the Improvement District 6059-20 for 2024 sidewalks, citywide sidewalk improvement plan. And the purpose of the discussion is to approve the engineer's report, authorize a notice of order to construct sidewalks, and to direct the engineer to prepare plans and specifications. Good evening, Mr. Dan Hanson, City Engineer, City of West Fargo. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner, President Dardis, and Commissioners. What you have in front of you is the beginning of a project, and this is a pretty standard project that we do every couple of years. What this does is, as newer developments come in and start getting infilled, there are some times where some homes are constructed where they don't construct the sidewalk out front, or it's possible that the yard or the building hasn't been placed on that property yet. So as these newer developments get built out to 80%, we basically have a project where we go in and we fill in the gaps for the pedestrian walkways throughout these different neighborhoods. In the packet is some areas, and I'll just kind of scroll through them, but it basically shows here are some of the properties that do not have sidewalk in front of them. And it's important because when you have pedestrians walking down the street through a development that's 80% done, well, all of a sudden they hit a gap and they have to funnel out to the street on the last driveway, get past that residence and then get back onto it, which driveways are not constructed ADA compliant. So potentially if there are pedestrians with ADA needs, they would not be able to continue on. So it's an important project for us to fill the gaps in on these sidewalks. We do assess this at a 100% rate of the costs that go into it. It is being designed internally by engineering, and it would be something that would be inspected also by our internal engineering department. So we're not projecting any costs for our work doing that. It's basically the construction of it, as well as some material testing and some material testing and that and whatnot. But anyways, last thing is that with these projects, we do need to send out a notice of order to construct sidewalks to these people. They are going to be able to construct the sidewalk themselves. If they want to get a hold of a licensed contractor in good standing with the City of West Fargo, they can get a hold of a contractor to come in and they can pay to put their own sidewalk in. And after July 3rd, after the 4th of July weekend, basically, we're going to go and we'll see out of all of these residences listed, these properties listed, what remains to be filled in, and we'll put a provision in the plans that basically tells the contractor if any residents do fill in the sidewalks that we have in the plans, it would just be removed from the project and we would proceed with installing the sidewalks where the gaps still exist. So there will be a notification to these people. And with that, I guess I would entertain any questions.
Questions? Going through the addresses, there's about 50 lots, I believe.
That's, I don't have the number, but that sounds about
I
right.
counted them. I believe it's about 50, Dan. And it looks like about 85% of them are vacant lots
Yeah.
owned by developers or builders or whatever.
Yeah, most of these are developer-owned vacant lots, correct?
Okay, very good. Just wanted to make sure I understood the maps. And
One question for,
Commissioner?
if they choose to build their own sidewalks, they'll need to get a building permit and follow all of those, the same codes that we would, as if we were hired a contractor too, right?
Yeah, in the notice that we have in the packet, I'll just go down to that piece of it. It does state in here that all sidewalks need to be constructed by a licensed contractor in good standing with the City of West Fargo. Before commencing any sidewalk work, the contractor will be required to contact the City of West Fargo Engineering Department for sidewalk line, grade, and obtaining permits and payment for the required fee.
Okay.
So,
Any additional questions of Mr. Hanson?
Make the motion to approve?
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded for the authorization of Improvement District Number 6059. It's 2024 sidewalks, citywide sidewalk improvements. To approve the engineer's report, authorize a notice of order to construct sidewalks and to direct the engineer to prepare plans and specifications. And a special notification will be going out to those property owners with regard to the details that they can construct their own sidewalks as long as they are to city codes and a contractor in good standing with the City of West Fargo. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is the 9th Street East Veterans Boulevard, a pedestrian safety improvements. Again, we're going to call on Dan Hanson, our city engineer. Purpose of this discussion is to create a project number 2279, approve both an engineer's report and a task order for basic services, and direct the engineer to prepare plans and specifications. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you again, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. This is a project that was originally applied for an HSIP grant. That's a Highway Safety Improvement Program grant through the North Dakota DOT. We were awarded a grant of 90% of the construction costs to improve 9th Street and East Veterans Boulevard corridor for pedestrian safety. This is not installing new signals. This is basically taking the existing signal system that we have and adding some pedestrian-friendly features to them, such as a no turn on red sign in a couple of places, and then also some pedestrian. In one situation, we'll have be adding the pedestrian buttons to create the walk light. So there is not shouldn't be a lot of interruptions to traffic or anything like that with this. And then additional with that, we would with these new features, we would also include updating our signal timing as well. So again, we have a 90% grant only for the construction costs of this. The rest of the costs, which would be the design for it, would be costs that would be borne by the city. I have a map showing the signal lights. I won't linger on it too much, but there are a couple of signals that are not included in the project. One would be 10th and 9th, where that's a brand new signal that already has the features that we're looking at, as well as the DOT's lighting at their off ramps for the interstate. The total costs estimated for this project is $510,000, of which we would have an estimated $360,000 worth of grant and $150,000 local cost, which is intended to be paid for via capital improvement sales tax funds. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Commissioner George.
So being that this road divides Fargo and West Fargo, is there any shared agreement with Fargo, or would everything be on the West Fargo side?
This is 100%, I believe, and honestly, I should ask Andrew Ruckey to verify this, and I will get back to you with that in mind. As far as I'm aware, that this is a West Fargo project initiated for it, and so it would be for the signals that would be within our jurisdiction for it. So I don't know 100% the answer to that. So I
Okay,
will
yeah,
get
because I'm
back.
just thinking south of the interstate at Veterans there, that's Fargo on the
Correct,
east
yep.
side, so.
Great question, Commissioner.
I was not prepared to answer that question. I apologize. I can definitely get back to you with that, but.
Dustin Scott, City Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. We do have an agreement with Fargo regarding the maintenance and operation of Veterans Boulevard. There would be potentially 2 traffic signals here that we would have a cost share with them. Anything that is 32nd Avenue and South, I believe, would be something we would cost share with them. By previous agreements, we've some of the work on 23rd and 26th, they've done some work, and we are expected to do some work. So things like replacing concrete panels, they'll take care of it. Replacing our concrete panels, we'll take care of it. If memory serves, when we did apply for this grant, we reached out to them, and like I said, Dan Hanson will certainly confirm this, but when we applied for this funding, I believe we worked out with Fargo that they would not participate, but certainly we'll look into it. I just wanted to provide that context that there is a freestanding agreement in place, and my recollection is that when we reached out to them in applying for this grant, they were not going to participate in any of this cost, any of this
Commissioner
work.
George.
With the grant exception or reception of that grant, was that maybe part of knowing that West Fargo would be responsible and that Fargo would not be participating? Is that part of our receiving of that then?
Correct, that's what I recall.
Okay,
Dan's 100% accurate that we've got to confirm that so that there's no question. But that's what I recall a couple years ago when we were receiving it. I think it's actually been in 3 years now. So that's where, I'm not going to guarantee that, but that's what I recall.
See, I know that we have 2 of these projects in the works, and I know I have sent over a memorandum of understanding to Fargo for them to pass, but I believe that's for the other project, not this project. That's why I believe that these projects are all going to be borne 100% by the city of West Fargo. It's the other project where we're actually going to be doing some turning lane modifications, again, to eliminate the negative turning lane movements that we've talked about in the past. That project is the one that I believe we have the memorandum of understanding, but I want to be 100% sure before I answer that question.
And I would remind the commission that one of the traffic signals just north of Cheyenne High School, about approximately across from the football stadium, that was a joint project. When that traffic signal went in, we shared the cost of that.
That is correct.
Great question, Commissioner. Any additional questions?
Make motion to approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Simmons seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the Improvement District 6059, to approve the engineer's report, authorize a notice of order of construct. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong one, aren't I?
next one down.
Yep, 9th Street East Veterans Boulevard pedestrian safety improvements, project number 2379. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is the second reading of the sanitation ordinance revision. We call on Mr. Matt Anvik, Public Works Director for the City of West Fargo. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening,
Anvik, and
Commissioner
welcome.
President. Good evening, Commissioner President and Commissioners. Like you said, this is a second reading for ordinance 1236, just a revision. The changes that were made to this is the revision is that it's just that the garbage shall be, the garbage can should be provided by the city of West Fargo, and those are the only cans or receptacles that we will actually pick up. And then that they have to be a minimum of 3 feet from any kind of permanent object or structure. There has been no changes since the last reading. Stand for any questions.
Questions for Mr. Anvik?
Move to approve the second reading.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve the second reading of the sanitation ordinance revision. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10. Thank you, Mr. Anvik. Item number 10 is the second reading of ordinance 1243 relating to the Liquor Control Board. We call on Mr. John Shockley, City Attorney for the City of West Fargo.
Thank you, Mr. Commission President, members of the West Fargo Commission. This is a second reading of an ordinance just cleaning up the appointment of the Liquor Control Board. The membership remains 5 members. Instead of specifically identifying the 3 staff members as city administrator, assistant city administrator, and city planner, we just specifically changed it to including 3 staff members and 2 city commissioners to give the city commission more discretion in its appointment. There's been no changes between the first and second reading.
Any questions for Mr. Shockley?
Move to approve second reading.
Thank you. Is there a second? I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the second reading of ordinance 1243 relating to the Liquor Control Board. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11, City Administrator's Report. Call on Mr. Dustin Scott, City Administrator.
Well, good evening. and Thank you, Commission President Dardis and Commissioners. Got a handful of items here. We'll try to be brief. First one, as you are all aware, we are unfortunately saying goodbye to our Finance Director, Heidi DeLorme. Her last day is on Thursday, and so we are preparing and we're advertising for a new Finance Director. We're hoping to replace that position as soon as we can, but certainly sad to leave Heidi. She's pursuing a new career opportunity, and we wish her nothing but the best, and appreciate all the great work she did in these past several months to rebuild our finance department. So again, wish her all the best in her new endeavors. Second, we have begun an internal search for our two new group leaders. We're titling them Senior Directors, Senior Director of Administrative Services and the Senior Director of Community and Development Services. We are going to accept applications until Tuesday, and I will be reaching out to both Commissioners George and Anderson to schedule interviews upon receiving all the applications. So hoping for a good turnout there. Third, chicken ordinance. Update on our chicken ordinance. We have been working internally, planning, police department, John Shockley. We are making some progress there. Aaron, our planning director, introduced it to the Planning and Zoning Commission last week. We are preparing to have a first reading at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting in March, followed by then a second reading at the City Commission meeting in or on March 18th. Along with that, the police department is going to be drafting the application for applying to get a permit. We're going to follow closely to what Moorhead's model has been, and so we are going to hopefully be prepared once, or if and when this is approved, we can start accepting applications. So this will be, police department already handles the animal control licensing, so we felt it was logical to have them administrate this particular permit. So any questions on that before I move on? Okay. A few things from HR. Sarah caught me before the meeting here and wanted to let me know that our salary study is making progress. She's been vigilant with our consultant on this. She expects that we'll start seeing draft documents here in the coming weeks with a final report by April. So that is great news, and I know we have staff that are certainly eager to see the results of that work. Update on our WEX move. Number one, we are on schedule for June 1st, June 3rd to move over there, and we are tracking well under the $500,000 budget that was approved. Don't have exact numbers, and we won't until the work is done, but as far as we're estimating, we are tracking 50% below that number. So that's good news, but we'll see how this shakes out through the spring. And along with that, Sarah and our Economic Development Manager, Casey, have been discussing applying for a grant to fit up a couple rooms for mothers' stations. So we get some grant money to implement or put in some mother stations, and that new WEX building would be fantastic. So kudos to them for working on that. Any questions on moving City Hall? No? Along the same lines, our police department have been working with our architect, RLE. I think things are coming along pretty well there. They're starting to schedule tours, so on and so forth. Things are progressing pretty well there as well. So, then last, our Employee Engagement Committee is putting on our annual chili cook-off next week. And I don't know if this was strategic planning, but it is going to take place at our new fire headquarters. Put out any fires that may arise with a chili competition. So, but as staff, we look forward to this. It's a pretty good turnout. We usually get anywhere from 8 to a dozen or more entries. And so there's plenty of different chilies to try. And this year it's exciting. We'll be doing that at the fire headquarters. And if we need to hose anybody down, Chief Fuller will be at the helm, ready.
What day is that?
Thursday, I believe. 27th? Yep, on the 27th. So, week from, so Tuesday. Good, that's all I have. Any questions for me?
I have a
Commissioner?
With the departure of our finance director, where do we stand with our search for new accounting software? What is that? Are we still on track to keep that rolling, or what are we doing there?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Olson. We did solicit proposals. We did receive one proposal from Barry Dunn. However, I do feel it would be prudent to put that effort on hold until we do find either a new finance director or at least fill the role of the Senior Director of Administrative Services to help guide that work. I think new perspective coming in to look at those things prior to committing to a certain dollar amount to hire those services would be advantageous. I'm not suggesting that we're going to completely go away from it, but I do feel like, at least for the time being, to just put a hold on that before we commit to hiring somebody to do that work. I have yet to do so, but I will be reaching out to Barry Dunn to see how long they will honor their proposal. If there is a sunset to it, I will certainly come back to the commission and share that information and decide whether or not we should be proceeding. So, but we did get one proposal, and it's from Barry Dunn, and so any questions? I mean, at this point, I certainly would welcome your feedback and input on that. Again, my thought is that we wait until we.
So nothing can be done until no preliminary work could be done if we wanted to go with them before the director came. I'm just curious if anything like that could happen, just to speed up the process, because we know our system is on oxygen right now.
Absolutely. Well, Commissioner, I feel that we're going to be, being so short-staffed, I think we're going to have all we can do to get the audit completed, get payroll done, get, just our day-to-days done. And so to take on such a large project, you're absolutely correct. Could somebody come in and start working on things? Yes, but they're going to need someone directing them, responding to emails, meeting with them. So,
Just thought I'd.
yep, absolutely. Nope, and it's a great point, and I think it's something that we should revisit every couple of weeks as we meet. What is the status? How are we sitting? And if it's going to take more than a month or so to fill that role, maybe we need to have another discussion on that. So, yes.
Mr. Anderson?
One question. You mentioned the audit. Do we have an update on that at all?
Yes. I've met with Ide Bailey over the last couple of weeks. They are anticipating to get a draft into our hands. In fact, it may have come today. They were hoping to get a draft into our hands before Heidi's departure so she could at least take a cursory look at it and provide feedback. Depending on that draft, what final changes would be necessary to get it to a final audit, that will dictate when will that come forward. I'm optimistic it'll be the first part of March, but because of the number of delays that we've seen, I'm not going to commit to any one date at this time. So, but based on my last conversation with them on Thursday or Friday, they were hoping to have a draft in our hands today or first thing tomorrow, so that Heidi had at least a couple days to review and make comments. So, good questions.
Anything else for us, Mr. Scott?
Well, that is all I have.
Commissioners, any additional questions? Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any non-agenda items you'd like to bring forward this evening?
I do, Mayor.
Commissioner Simmons, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'd like us to go back and revisit our zoning ordinance amendment related to campgrounds within an agricultural district. If you recall, this is quite old. The first reading we did on this actually was approved in September of 2022. We came back in October of 2022, and I had some concerns. I wanted to discuss a little bit more, and I kind of put this on the back burner. I think that it's something we need to talk about as a whole for our community moving forward. All I'm asking is just for us to put it on the agenda and have the staff do that, to look at it. I'm not asking anybody to vote for anything tonight, but we do need to take a vote just to even talk about it.
All right. Mr. Scott is taking notes, as is Ms. Hagemeister, so we should be, we'll be on track with that, Commissioner.
Okay, do we need to take a vote on that, Mayor?
Not until we see something of the scope of the nature of it.
Or
Okay,
is he asking a vote to use staff time to look into it? Kind of like we've had a couple of times?
yeah, I'm just making the procedural vote. I'm asking for the vote so that the commission can even look at it, because we voted it. Commissioner George, you were gone on that second reading, so it was a 2-2. So it failed, and I was one of the nay votes. So procedurally wise, I believe I have to ask for a motion to even discuss this again. That's all I'm asking for, not to vote on the actual,
You are correct.
amendment.
You are correct, Commissioner Simmons. So are you presenting a motion this evening?
Yes, I am, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to go back and revisit this and have the staff bring us forward all the information, so we have it.
And being he was an affirmative vote, he has the right to do that. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor of bringing this back, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Let the record show it's a 4-1 vote. Commissioners, any non-agenda items? Additional? Does any department have anything? Commissioner, excuse me, Director Anvik.
Good evening, Commissioner President, Commissioners. Kind of apologize for this, but this is something that just kind of popped up today. As we're navigating the new purchasing policy, this is kind of the first year with that approved purchasing policy going forward for the equipment. We were looking at replacing a 16-year-old brine truck that we had. We just got confirmation today, like at 3 o'clock, that there had been another city that had pulled out of their contract for purchasing a chassis, which meets our spec, and through Sourcewell, when we were kind of getting all our quotes, going through the government pricing, it fits our needs. We would be able to get our name on this one now, and it would probably be coming off the line, and we'd have possession of it by May. If we don't get our name on this one, we're looking at maybe November, December before we're actually going to get that chassis. And when you're going to get that total truck, we'd be lucky to have it for the next snow season. This is something that was approved in the 2024 budget. It was approved for $315,000 for the total truck. The chassis, what we're asking to, for approval, I guess tonight, if you would, is $199,880. And then we would add that 2,600 gallon brine tank for another $30,000. The new box installation, implementation of the controls is another $70,000. So the total price would be $299,880, which is underneath that $315 that we did have budgeted in '24. So I guess I would ask if you would, give me the ability to approve putting our name on this chassis purchase.
Again, it's in the 2024 budget.
Correct.
The difference being is that we ask the department heads when there's large expenditures like this, and they're going to sign an agreement, they ask to come back to us. So it is in the 2024 budget. I would entertain a motion to allow Mr. Anvik to proceed. Commissioner George.
Just a quick question. I don't have any issue with it or anything, but my big question is just, was this just recently that you heard this?
3 o'clock.
Okay,
today.
okay, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, I was just wondering why it wasn't on the agenda.
Maybe if you'd want to table it, we can wait till the next meeting so you have all the information. It's just, we might miss out on this, and if we do,
Okay.
we have in the past where we've put our name, we did that with the sanitation truck, we put our name on it. They said, it'll be here in November, December, and then they just kicked us off of there, and we had to start over again, or they'll change the price on us, so.
Is there any value to the old unit?
Some. They're, it's 16-year-old, just with that, we'll probably put that on auction. And actually, they've been doing fairly well. I just, maybe 40, 50,000 right now. I don't, they could go more than that, I don't know.
So the brine container would be still on it, so,
Yeah, I would, depending on how we'd really start looking into it, we could maybe take that one off and sell it two separate. We might get more money for it if we sell it separate, or we just keep it all together and sell that one unit together.
very good. Commissioners?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons moves to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the expenditure as outlined for a brine truck by Mr. Anvick this evening, which is included in the 2024 budget. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Anvick.
Thank you.
Again, does any other department head have something? Mr. Hanson, everybody's got promoted to commissioner tonight.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. I was able to reach out to Assistant City Engineer Rucky, who's our transportation engineer, and I did confirm that the 9th and Veterans Signal Project is 100% City of West Fargo expense. We do not have cost share with Fargo on that project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your quick response on that, Mr. Hanson. Any additional non-agenda items? PD, you're left out so far tonight. Fire? All right. Commissioner Simmons,
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Olson,
Second.
we stand adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.